What's going on, Fly family? It's your boy Marcus. I hope you're having a beautiful day. It's raining here in North Carolina, but I want to stay consistent. I'm back on this YouTube thing. I appreciate you for taking the journey with me. Before I get started, I want to let you know, specifically my brothers out there, men, this message is for you. Ladies, it's for you too, because it messes with everybody. It's a struggle for everybody. But it's a weapon that I've seen that has been used to take out our brothers. So, guys, this is for you. This is my most vulnerable video yet. I'm going to talk about me in a way that might surprise some. Hopefully, it blesses you at the end of it all. Don't play with lust. Don't play with lust. Y'all ever heard that term where your parents used to say, don't play with fire unless you want to get burned? Fire is fire for a reason. And one thing about fire, it spreads quickly, specifically when you have things around it that attract it, that aid it, that helps it grow and to fester. And fire consumes, fire burns. Fire can keep you warm, but also destroy. So you can't play with it. You got to take it seriously. Lust is the same way. Pride, arrogance, and a loss of identity are also fires that, when not surrendered to God, when not clearly recognized and called out, can destroy your life. And I have experienced that firsthand. I want to talk to you about a man in the Bible. His name is Samson. There's a book in the Bible, Judges, that talks about the different judges that were men and women of God that God has set apart, whether they were in captivity, whether they were transitioning from place to place, or they needed to hear from God. God had these men and women, which they labeled as judges. Samson was labeled a Nazarite, meaning called of God. When Samson was conceived, an angel of the Lord came to Samson's mother and father, gave his mother instructions not to eat certain foods and not to drink alcohol or wine, due to whom Samson were to become. She had to abstain. In life, whether you have a genetic disposition or a genetic relativity to a disease or some sort of generational type of curse that your grandparents or parents might have dealt with, when you recognize those areas in your life, you have to live a certain way. You have to make certain decisions so not to relive those bad experiences that happened in your previous generation. But Samson was a Nazarite, and he had specific ways that he had to live. For one, his hair. Thankfully, those things are not still in place. But back then, specifically for Samson, God gave him a commandment that not a razor could touch his head. He couldn't cut his hair. His hair played a vital role in how he was able to be used by God. So let's talk about Samson. Once Samson got of age, it was customary to, if you were looking to marry or if you were at a marrying age, you would go to your father, you go to your mother, and you would let them know your interest. And the father would go and within that tribe find a reasonable spouse or suitor for their son. And Samson took it upon himself to go outside of his tribe, find a woman that he really liked. It said specifically that she looked good to him. Okay. So he went to his father. His father was like, can't you choose from the women of your own tribe? Why would you go outside? Samson was like, no, I don't want women from my tribe. This woman looks good to me. Looks good, right? So that showed that Samson was led by his eyes. But Samson not only was attracted by his eyes, but he was also led by what he saw. Anyway, we all know that story. His father goes to meet with the woman's parents and father and to set up a wedding. Wedding is started to happen. So she became vowed to Samson. not married yet, but she vowed herself to marry him. All sorts of stuff happened with the family of the woman, the attendees of the wedding party. A bet had gone wrong that Samson had placed, and the woman whom he laid with and slept with demanded an answer from him about a riddle about honey and the mouth of a lion. All that to say, he finally gave in to that woman. The woman told the guys, and that led to Samson having to lose that bet, having to go kill some men to get their garments and to give it to these other guys. Throughout the story of Samson, even though Samson was led by his eyes, was led by the lust, that he was led by his desires, God always seemed to find a way to show up. God would show up strong and mightily for the sake of freeing his people, delivering the people of God from under the hand of the Philistines. Samson would kill over 1,000 Philistines with just the jawbone of a donkey. And this enraged the Philistines. Samson met a woman. Her name was Delilah. Delilah tempted Samson over and over again to find out the source of his strength so that the Philistine army could finally remove Samson from the picture, because Samson played a vital role in defeating the Philistine army time and time again, because God used him mightily. It was the Spirit of God. It wasn't Samson. It always said the Spirit of the Lord came upon Samson, which enabled Samson to do mighty things. It gave him supernatural strength. Remember, his hair, the source of his strength came from his hair. 4 times Delilah begged Samson to tell her his secret for his supernatural strength. Samson made up a story for the first 3 times. Finally, the 4th time, Samson was annoyed to the point of death by this woman, Delilah. She begged until Samson became exhausted and gave in to the point of death, it said. We all know the story. That woman betrayed him, told the Philistine army of the source of his strength. He cut his hair, and the Philistine armies came in, gouged out his eyes, and took him. But God still, through God's amazing grace, God still showed up. He still showed up for Samson. And reading this story revealed to me that in our weaknesses, God's strength is made perfect. Even though we may stumble, even though at times we may fall short, God still shows up. He still shows up. God is good. So it says a part in the scripture of Samson when it's talking in Judges chapter 16, verse 20. And I'll just read it for you. Once the woman had cut his hair, Delilah, and the Philistine armies had come in to take him. Samson, it says Samson woke up and he thought to himself, I will do as before and shake myself free. But he didn't realize that God had left him. God had left Samson in that moment. God had left him. God had left him. It brings chills to my body thinking of living this life without God, all because of an undisciplined way of life. So this is my testimony I want to share. I want to talk about me. My mom always tells a story about me when I was just a baby and this woman had seen her holding me. My mom was catching the bus at the time in Baltimore, and this lady of Jewish ethnicity came to her and spoke a word over my life, and my mom held on to that word. And at that moment, she knew that I was called by God. God called me at an early age. The enemy doesn't play fair. At the age of 4, I was introduced to pornography. It was on, unfortunately, in my home by my father. At a 4-year-old age, I didn't know necessarily what I was looking at, but those images stayed with me throughout my entire life. A couple of things happened. I was called by God. Secondly, I was introduced to a thing that became a thorn in my flesh. And it became a lifetime struggle for me. And as a worship leader, there's mountaintop experiences, often great displays of God showing up through music. And oftentimes after that, I found an intense struggle to go into a place of transgression. And I battled with that for many years, partly because it outshined my purpose. This struggle would outshine my purpose. I was like, hey, if I can just stay pure and clean for a period of time, God can use me. Instead of like, God, this thing I know is not of you. Take it away from me and give me the grace to turn away. I wanted to be pure and pleasing to God so that I could be used. But that became displaced. That became a loss of identity for me because God said, already mine. I was already His. I didn't need to do something to earn His approval. I had to be who He called me to be. And to do that, I had to recognize the areas in my life that had not yet been surrendered to Him. I had to surrender that area to God and still to this day have to surrender that area to God and to remove pride in thinking that I could handle these things on my own. I failed every single time. I would go months, even years at times, thinking that I was this strong man of God, feeling as if I didn't have to surrender a quiet thought or surrender a time on Instagram and looking on the explore page, thinking that I could endure that. There it goes, playing with fire. That opened the door for me to go right back into a situation of a loss of identity, held captive to lust. Pride led me down those paths. Pride every single time. And we know what happens with pride. It comes before the fall. What helped turn things around for me is when I surrendered that thing to God and came to grips in honesty with myself and saying, I'm not strong enough to handle this on my own. I need God's strength and grace. In all things, I needed it. Grace. Grace is not just a dependence on His strength when the temptation arises, but grace is also the strength to turn from the wickedness, to run away. I had to specifically pray for the grace of God to give me the strength. I had to pray for the grace of God to pick up the phone to call a brother. I had to depend and call on the grace of God when I was weak. Thankfully, it's been the grace of God that has kept me this far. It's been a community of brothers, leaders that I can go to. Has been a powerful woman of God being my wife that knows me, that can recognize moments in my life when I am weak and not throw me away or judge me, but help me and stand with me. I pray that you, the watcher, men, women, that God would touch your heart and allow you to let go of this, oh, I got it mentality, that God will be God because I'm His. I pray that you would invite the grace of God to come in strong times, weak times, little whispers of the enemy, that you will call on the grace of God to fight your battle for you and to show up for you, to give you the strength to turn away. I want to talk about the Nike Flight Hyperflights. I just purchased them this week and I absolutely love that shoe. They are comfortable. This shoe came out in 2002. I still remember the commercial for the Hyperflights. This nice glossy shoe. You already had the foam posits, iconic shoe. Then you started having the flight posits that came out. Then you got the Hyperflights. Such a great shoe. The Alpha Project made the best Nike shoes, in my opinion, that were ever made. I'm not talking about Jordans, because Jordans is separate. The best Nike shoe was made by the Alpha Projects. That's what led me to the GT Futures. But the thing about the GT Futures, I bought them. Okay. I loved the look of them. I loved the look of them. They came in the best colorways. I mean, you're talking about an amazing fit that I was able to put together with these shoes. But something I never had to do before, I had to go up a whole size. Okay, so my size is 9.5. I had to get a 10.5 in these shoes just for me to get my feet in them. Okay. So y'all, with a whole size up, the GT Futures didn't fit me. I had to sell those bad boys. I love the way they looked. I had to turn away from the GT Futures because they didn't fit me. I could not wear them. They were just all looks, but no purpose for me. I sold them. I lost about $45 in the sale from what I got them for. But I was able to use that income, and my wife blessed me with some shoes, okay, which were the Hyperflights. They fit me perfectly. They're my size, and they're black, so I can wear them with everything. And yeah, they're an acquired taste. Those shoes aren't for everybody, but they are for me. That's my identity. I can see how I could put fits together with those. I see how this ties in. Listen, we can be driven by our eyes, right? But 9 times out of 10, your eyes can deceive you. Your heart can deceive you. You got to go for the things that are purposeful. You got to chase the things that are going to do the things that it says it's going to do for you. Lust never did that. Lust, pride never did that for me. It always led me to a place where I didn't fit, where I didn't belong. And it tried to keep me from God, the one who created me. But thanks be unto God. It says in Judges, after Samson's eyes were gouged out, when he was tied to the columns, it says Samson's hair started to grow back. And God showed up for Samson. Even in that time of falling, even in that time of despair, even in that time of imprisonment, God showed up. And his purpose still was carried forth. God still used Samson. It says Samson knocked that building down and destroyed the most Philistines he's ever destroyed. Look, I hope this blessed you. If you don't have a church home, get it plugged into a church home. If you're in the North Carolina area, there are some amazing ministries out here. Get plugged in. Find you some people, some men, godly women that you can submit to, and you can be accountable with these men and women of God. They can definitely help you because they definitely helped me and are helping me. I want to have a mentor until I am gone. All of this earth. Can't do this walk by myself. I'm so thankful that you spent your time here with me. I encourage you, first and foremost, to get a strong relationship with God. Call unto Jesus. Ask him to come into your heart and to make you new so that you can turn away from the things that has held you bound. He will do it. He's strong enough. He's able. Love you. Like, share, subscribe this video. I appreciate your time. I look forward to talking to y'all next week. Y'all have a blessed one. Talk to you soon. Peace.